My name is Jagoda Munic. I'm Director of Friends of the Earth Europe. Firstly, I would like to congratulate Greens for their success. That's very good news. And it's good news that we have more voters who actually turn out and voted, which is good, particularly among younger population. And that's probably also contribute to some of the results that were not forecasted previously. We see more polarization among parties in terms of majorities. It's going to be interesting to see how now majorities are created in European Parliament, and I wish all of them good success in doing so. Maybe also because I'm also coming from Croatia, and when you look at the results of Eastern Europe, maybe it's good to point out that the turnout there is a bit lower. I mean, traditionally that was always the case. And of course, when you look at the success of Greens, Green Wave is mostly in Western Europe. So that's still kind of for the next year some room for improvement, and hopefully we will see more and more Greens in future in European Parliament too. I don't know what to start with, because everybody starts with lots of challenges. Of course, it's challenge to predict what's going to happen in the near future with all this volatility, but we see there is basically global ecological crisis that we already face, and we see consequences of climate change on daily basis now, and we also have more and more proof of ecosystem collapse and huge biodiversity loss, losing of biodiversity, huge losing of biodiversity. So when you combine all this together, it's kind of scary time, but also it's exciting time, because we have quite a big task ahead of us, and it's actually time is now. Next 5 years are very crucial to act on climate change, to act on halting biodiversity loss, and to actually redesign our society in a much more sustainable and just way. When we look at the rising inequality in the world, that's also a huge problem. And I hope and I call for new parliamentarians and new leaders of European Union to actually take leadership in those fields and show how Europe can transform to a much more sustainable and much more just Europe. We have, of course, very high expectation from Green Group in the next 5 years, and we know that you're already putting very high on your agenda environmental issues and climate urgency as priority. In doing so, we would also like you to take into account social justice, so environmental and social justice, particularly in cases like implementation of just transition or socially fair transition, for instance, shifting from fossil fuel energy to renewables, in a way that the cost of that transition are not going to be paid by the poorest part of society, but by polluters or fossil fuel industry. So in other words, we don't want that fossil fuel industry is bailed out in that transition. We need to take care of those who cannot afford to pay the cost of it.